Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Five Door Media podcast, where we are diving deep into what makes home service companies thrive. This season, we're exploring the topic of culture, the people, principles, and purpose that define the heartbeat of service businesses. Today's guest is someone who's built her company on that very heartbeat. Linnsey Dolson is the owner and founder of Lindsey's Cleaning, a California based residential and commercial cleaning company recognized for its meticulous standards and exceptional team culture. Lindsey launched her business with a clear vision to create a cleaning service where trust and respect guide every interaction from client to cleaner. What began as a small operation is now a trusted name in her region, known for consistent quality, a positive workplace environment, and client first values. And clean first, too. That works too. On top of running a thriving business, Lindsey is a champion for professional development, mentoring team members to advance in both their cleaning careers and leadership skills. She's passionate about sustainability, community engagement, and making both her company and her team shine brighter every day. Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I love this subject. It's so
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, we will be fully transparent. Lindsey's Cleaning is a client of Five Door Media. So when we were talking to the team about this season with the topic of culture, Bailey, who is your brand strategist here, she was like, "Oh, you have to have Lindsey on. You have to have Lindsey on. She loves that topic. She does so much for her team. Her company's got a great culture. So I am pumped to have you here. What's been going on? You have so much going on always in your life. If you follow Lindsey on social media, which I highly recommend that you do, there's always something, right? You make me feel like the most boring human being in the world because you've always got some great adventure going on. But tell us what's going on.
Oh, I have lots of things going on. So I have tons of big appearances coming up. I can't mention all of them yet on publicly until they've been announced. But lots of great things on Khloe Kardashian's podcast coming up in a few weeks. Heading to the Bahamas on Sunday. So life is short, and I feel like you need to get the most out of it. Like I and 1 year is a long time, and I do not waste any time.
I love that. Yeah. So Khloe Kardashian, that's a pretty darn big deal.
Oh,
As well as like you're a big cruise vacationer as well. I know you're always on trips and things like that, traveling with your family.
we love to travel. So we're actually going on a cruise on Sunday to the Bahamas. But I feel like that's the importance. Like the first years of your business, I put so much work into it. I never vacation because like I grinded all day, all night. So once I got it to that point, I made like a promise that, okay, we are going to live it out. You only get 18 years with them as kids. So we're
Yeah.
living out those 18 years.
Very true. Yeah. All right. Well, today's topic, as we've talked about, is the topic of company culture and home service businesses. And I just want to let's start at the root of things. How do you define company culture in general, but more specifically for a home service business?
So I feel company culture starts with leadership, right? It is a direct reflection of the leadership in the company. And I feel like a home service business is different for culture because we're not all in an office together. We don't necessarily see all our employees every day, all of that, right? So it gets a little bit tricky with
Mm.
really keeping that culture, especially because like we don't run teams. So there's times where we don't see some of our technicians for weeks because we have a code on the office that they can come at any time and restock their supplies and then they go to work from home and back. So then that makes it even harder, right? Cuz how are we going to keep the connection with these, technicians? How are we going to keep our company culture? How are we going to, provide value to them, make them feel appreciated, all of these when we don't get to see them every day, right? So you have to get really creative with that. And I also think a lot of it starts with your hiring process and really understanding like what is your company culture and what you're looking for. Like Chick-fil-A and even Dutch Bros. I don't know if you guys have Dutch Bros there, but we have them in
We're actually just getting our first run in like a month or two. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Dutch Bros and Chick-fil-A are so good on their company culture, right? Because when you go there, you're not getting anybody less than, "Hi, Lindsay, how are you? How can we help you?" And I love that. It's like, "Hey, okay." Dutch Bros is the same way, right? You go up and they're just like bouncing and happy, and that's their culture, but they look for that in hiring, right?
Mm.
And so, like, we have a different hiring process where they have to go through like a personality test. I don't know if you're familiar with disc styles. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Best invention ever. Best invention ever. But it's really like figuring out what are you looking for? What is your ideal, employee look like that fits the culture of your company? So it all starts with like hiring people that fit within the culture that love to be of service. We love high energy but they don't all have to be high energy, but we are a very high energy company where, it's just how we are. But it's really finding people that truly care and that want to make a difference in people's lives. Like they're not just showing up to do a job, but they actually care that they are truly making a difference in people's lives. And when you hire the right staff, it makes it 10 times easier to build a proper company culture. I truly feel like.
That's so I like what you said because it's so true. And honestly, in our business, we're a hybrid agency. So some people work in office and some people work remotely. And yeah, there are challenges in building that culture when you're not in like that old school business model where everybody's in the office every single day. You're with each other for 8 hours a day. Like it was a different game then. But for home service businesses, you're right too. I mean, people are out in crews all day long doing their thing. They come back to the office. Usually at the end of the day, they're exhausted because it's very physical work.
Right.
So they're like ready to go home. So what are some things that you guys have done to intertwine and, intermake those moments where you are together? How do you make those special? Like, what are some things you guys are doing internally to make those moments matter?
Yeah, so we love events. We just did like a bowling night. We're getting ready to do a company camping trip. So we're figuring out
Oh,
all the
wow.
details where we're gonna rent out like a campground. Everybody, brings their own tent. We provide all the food, activities, games, all of that. So we love like team building things like events, that sort of thing. We have our all staff meetings and we do them in the evening and we let them bring their kids. So we have like an area with kids entertainment and then we feed them. Right. I'm like, if you have to come in after hours, we're going to feed you. We're going to feed and
Yeah.
entertain your kids. And, and you're on the clock. So you're got, we're not going to, and they love that too. So we do, the team meetings, which are important. We also love on our staff. And I know that's like a funny word when you're talking, employees, but like we truly do. I've had so many people that don't work for Lindsay's Cleaning anymore for some reason or another. Either they were going through nursing school, they were going through school and they graduated, they moved away. Cleaning's hard work and they just went a different route. But rarely will you ever find anyone who worked for Lindsay's Cleaning who has anything negative to say besides the work is hard. That's the only negative thing they could say is cleaning is hard because it is hard. Cleaning is a very physical, hard job. But otherwise, from the moment you come in for an interview, every time you call the office for a question, anything, every time you see us, we pour love on you on your birthday when you come to the office. We make sure you come to the office on your birthday, and the whole front yard is a life-size card with their name on it. In the front yard, it's humongous, like, it's ridiculous,
Love that.
enormous, and
I've seen those pictures, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
love those, and then, like, their
Yeah.
anniversaries, all of that, and a lot of people are like, "That has to be so much money," and it's actually not. There's this, franchise called Card Your Yard, and they're in every city, and we literally clean their house and trade for all those signs.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
literally so you can get really creative with ways to love on your staff without it being because some people are like, "That's so much money," and it can.
Mm.
But we celebrate their anniversaries, we celebrate their birthdays. We also really try to refine our, and like employee life cycle with us, right? So we check in with them at 1 week, we check in with them at 2 weeks. We do 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. We make sure they get a raise at 30 days. They get a raise at 60 days. They get a raise at 90 days. And so we're just constantly, you know, I guess adding value to the job
Sure.
and loving on. It's really you have to get so creative with how to just really keep that company culture. And I think your management, like, because as an owner, I'm not in the business that much anymore. So before I used to do it all. And I was like really in charge of the company culture. And then what I learned is as I stepped away from the business, like I'm traveling so much, there's times I'm in the office maybe 2 hours a week, if that sometimes. And so when I passed it down to management, I failed at first to really make sure they understood how to keep that same company culture I did. And then I
Mm,
realized that that was something that has to be done. It has to be at the top, right? It starts at the top and our leadership. And my GM, Hannah, is so amazing. This girl, I've never seen a more positive attitude in my life. So she started out as one of my first cleaners ever. Her and I cleaned houses together. Gemma
oh, wow.
and I. Okay. It's
Yeah.
like, and then she grew to my trainer and then ops manager. And then now she's the GM. So this girl knows this business like the back of her hand, but she has the most positive, loving, kind attitude of just really caring. Like, we're not just where you work. I feel like we want to make a positive impact in your life. So it's even little things we do. I had a newer employee come up and say, I heard such good things about you. And she went on and on. And I'm like, I love that. I love that people have great things to say. Like, if their car breaks down, we'll put it in the shop and pay the bill.
Mm,
You had something come up and your rent, you're behind on rent, I'll pay your rent. And I never make them pay me back. Like even if they've asked for like, and you don't want to, that's not necessarily a great habit to get into, but just like knowing that you're not just their boss, that you're there to help them, like no matter
yeah.
what. And I want to support them on building a life, that they've always wanted. So sometimes that starts working at a cleaning company, but that doesn't always, we're not the end all be all. So it's like while we're in their life, I want to make sure to add so much value to their life that they remember us forever. Like they remember
Yeah.
time with our company.
There's a phrase just about money that money is nothing but a tool, right? To build things and create things. And in a way, someone's job is a tool as well, right? And like their job is not just what they do every day, and their job is not just what they do at work. Their job can be more than that. And it seems like you're trying to make their job a tool to help them get the life that they want, not just through a paycheck, but through other ways as well.
Oh, definitely. I've had some staff that's like, "Well, I'm thinking of starting, a lash business, starting this." I'm like, "Girl, do it. I'll give you free business coaching." Hell yes. That's what you want to do. Do it.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
so
Yeah.
I love to encourage them. And other ways that, our staff is the VIPs. I feel like so many companies make their clients the VIPs. And while we love our clients and our clients are amazing and we're so grateful for them and all of that, our staff comes before our clients. 100%. And we're extremely picky with the clients that we'll take, which is it's so grateful to be like in a place where we could do that because it wasn't always like that. The stuff I put up with when I was cleaning myself, I would never in a million years send my staff into some of those homes
Yeah.
or with some of those clients or just rude or just disgusting, like really bad situations. And so we really make sure that we, filter out that we're sending them in positive homes. You can weed out on a conversation real quick when you're like talking to a client if they're going to have a bad attitude, if they're going to treat your employee not well, if they're all of that.
Mm,
And so we just really weed them out. I usually will give like a really high quote, right? I'm like, oh yeah, that'll be $1,500, and then they're like, okay, no, thank you. And you're just me.
yeah.
I don't ever want to send my staff into a home where they don't feel appreciated and they don't feel like the client's grateful, any of that, because cleaning is hard work. It,
100%.
oh my gosh, it is hard work and it takes like it kicks your butt by the end of the day. So doing it for somebody who's not appreciative or not kind is just something we never put up with. If you're
Makes it even
or
harder.
not,
Yeah.
we will fire a client really quick over that. Like
Yeah.
no hesitation.
Yeah, and you were talking earlier about a thing that a roadblock for a lot of people to really like start doing things to help out with that internal culture is cost. You know, you're talking about like the yard cards, which is such a great name in general. The marketer in me loves the rhyming,
Oh,
but the yard card people, you're like, oh, it's so expensive, but like, and you're smart and you're a hustler, so you figured out how to way trade that out, right?
right.
But even if you were paying cash for it, like, what's more expensive, that yard card moment or keep having to hire new employees? So it's like it's choose your hard,
I
right? I mean, it's another example of choosing your hard. Do you want to invest a little bit of money twice a year, whether it's their birthday or their anniversary, or do you want to have to keep, hiring new people and training new people and like spend all your days on Indeed looking at applications? Like, which one's harder and which one are you going to go with? So I think it's smart. Tell me about maybe a moment in your company's history that you can remember back to, like, really defined, this is what I want my company's culture to be. Is there a moment that you can remember, like something happened, you're like, no, that this is what kind of company we're going to be, and this is what I'm going to build?
I think there was a time where I had stepped away a little bit and I actually hired this was where before Hannah became a GM and I had hired a different GM and she was not in the industry. And I had stepped away a little bit at that time because I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing it all this time. I got some freedom. And the
Yeah.
company culture went to shit like quick. And that right there, it was wild. Okay. In like 2 months, it didn't, it only been a
Mm,
month and a half. And I was like, yeah, this is, it's not working. But we had like our quality dipped, our
mm,
call-ins got, I mean, all of these, it was a domino effect. It just trickled down. And this person was just had no leadership skills. There was not proper leadership skills and it trickled down all of it because when our staff don't feel appreciated, they don't value their job, they don't care if they come to work, they don't care how they treat the clients. It's not important that they did a good job, all of that. And so I remember that once I jumped back in, I was like, this why we are such an incredible company is because our staff is so incredible and then how important like the culture is within the company. And we have never let culture slip. So it's like a month and a half of like, we got like 3 bad reviews on Google that 1 month. And we don't usually get bad reviews ever. And the reason is because like we have a 5-minute turnaround. If we get a complaint, that client better be called and happy
mm.
within like 5 minutes. And if you can't get a hold of that client, you need to call, you need to text, you need to email, all of that, because it's so important. And so, all of those things, your company culture trickles down onto all of it, onto your quality, onto your employee retention, which is huge, bouncing around a little bit. But how you admit
Yeah.
it's more expensive, that was so true. People are like, "Oh, I don't really wanna spend it on company, parties. I don't wanna pay more. I don't wanna pay benefits." Like, we give full benefits, medical, dental, vision, life insurance, 401k, drive time, mileage, gas reimbursements, like, all these things, and people are like, "Well, that's too expensive," and I'm in California. So,
Mm,
we're at the highest tax rate and stuff, but what's more expensive? Putting all these people through training, going through 2 weeks of training, you're paying your trainer to train them, you're paying them an hourly wage for doing nothing for you, basically. They're making 0, those aren't billable hours. That gets expensive quick. You put them through training and then
yeah.
leave. Most companies struggle with getting people past 90 days. Like the first 90 days with an employee, I feel like is the make or break it point. Once you get them past 90 days, they usually stay at least a year, is what I've seen. But it's that 90-day mark, and you lose so many. And we've gone through that time frame I was talking about. We've gone through other time frames where we were losing staff a lot quicker. And that's always when we reel back in the culture. Okay, we might have got a little lenient with the culture, with our hiring, with all of that. And we always start from the top. And every time we reel that back in, that problem fixes itself.
It's amazing, which it really just shows how drastic a good culture can change things and like really quickly, can change things. Because I think you were talking like,
The company, it truly
yeah,
makes or breaks a company. I've coached other cleaning companies where I've tried to teach culture, and I feel like it's hard if someone doesn't naturally have that leadership and that
yeah.
care for others, it's really hard to teach. And that's where building a proper culture comes in. You have to care about your staff. You have to make them feel cared for, make them feel loved, make them feel valued, right? And some people just don't naturally have that, I found, and that's
So tell me,
trouble.
so like it kind of goes right into my next question because I think you're right. I think as a company scales, especially in the home service world, as a company scales and really starts to grow, that owner can really take on a role where it's that classic they're working on, not in that business. I think sometimes what you can see is the more they start working on the business and not in it, they kind of do lose that touch of caring about what's going on in it because they're more focused on what's going on it, right? So tell me about how you have focused on culture and kept the culture through scaling as well. Because that is a whole different lesson, right? Like when you are hands-on, like you were saying, cleaning yourself next to your
Right.
employees,
Oh, yeah.
that's easier, right? Because you have all the empathy in the world because you're doing the work that they're doing. Or you're even like working, you're still working long days, long nights for the company. So it's easier to have like that mental mindset of like, we got to keep these people happy because they're busting their tails for me because I'm busting my tail still. So like when you get to that point where you're working more on than in, tell me about how you've scaled that culture. How do you keep that still a priority? Because as we're talking, like a good company culture for you has set the tone for the success of the whole company. So how do you keep that top of mind?
That's a great question because there's times where now I'm just traveling and what I'm looking at is our KPIs, right? That is where I'm focused. I'm in our QuickBooks, I'm in our KPIs, I'm in our numbers, and I'm measuring by that. But I have really like invested in my management staff. So they just went to Las Vegas for a whole employee training on culture, on all of these things. And so I have them in like monthly trainings for that. I send them away to conferences based on that. I feel like constantly investing in your management staff on that is going to do it because with me being as distant as I am, it's really hard because I don't even know all my technicians anymore. I used to know everything about them. I used to know their whole families, right? I don't know them all anymore. And so now it's important for me to invest in the people who are managing them. And that's my GM. My field manager is definitely, obviously, very involved, well, like one on one with them. And so I invest in them and I really just put proper systems in place to where how I did it still gets done when I'm not there, right? This
It
goes
trickles
down.
down. Yeah.
Exactly. This is how we handle that. This is how, this situation is handled, all of that. And so it trickles down and that they have to do it a certain way. You don't get to just manage the way you think it should be managed. You need to manage the way Lindsay's cleaning services manages, the way
Mm,
love on our staff, we all of that. And I am incredibly lucky to have the best management. Like truly our staff, and a lot of it, they all grew from within the company. So
mm.
all of our
Which is huge too, as well. Like they're not outsiders; they really know it. Yeah.
it's ingrained in them. So all our management started from technicians. And I invested in them. Like my GM, I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in her training, coaching, conferences over all these years. And it's best use of money ever is
Mm,
investing in your staff. And so they understand the company culture. So I really recommend, if you can, to always hire from within because your company culture is already so ingrained in them, and they've seen how we do everything, that that's already how they operate. Like where I talked about, I brought somebody else in, didn't understand our company culture, maybe understood business, but not Lindsay's clean and not how
Yeah.
we do things and how we love on our staff and all of that. And in a month and a half, I came back. It took me several months to clean up all the pieces. We
Mm.
lost like 4 or 5 staff members in that month.
And the cost of that is just wild, you
Yeah,
know?
it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it invest in your staff. And when I say invest in your staff, I don't just mean send them to conferences, all of that. I do recommend that, but invest in them. Celebrate their birthdays, celebrate their anniversaries. If you hear that their mother passed away, give us, give them a call on their anniversaries. I take them out to like a special lunch or a dinner and have them bring their family. And, when they're going through a hard time, help them. So it's like
I love that.
really just loving on your staff and connecting. It's connecting, it's connections, right? Building that
Yeah.
connection with your staff.
This is the part where I'm like really wandering away from my notes because I got follow up questions about what we're talking about. So we're talking about hiring internally, right? And how that can drastically be a better move than bringing someone in externally. Tell me about, what do you look for when it comes to internal people where you're like, that person has management material, that person has leadership material. And then at what point do you see that and start investing in them early?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. So, my field manager, Maddie, is actually pretty young. She's 20.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah.
yeah, and right away when I hired her, what I noticed is that interview, she asked a lot of questions, tons of questions. She had so many questions. And right away, I just seen and it's so funny. We did her disc style, and she's the same as me. She's an ID. And so I was like, "Oh my god, that bitch perfect." But super bubbly, sweet, kind, taking ownership. So she'd be at like deep cleans and there'd be new people there. And she wasn't necessarily set in charge, but she would make sure before she left, everybody's work was checked and that there wasn't any mistakes and that she wowed the client before she left. And like early on, you can see that. And if they're like dedicated, right? If they're willing to stay a little bit late for the sake of the company, come in on a day off if we're short staffed, like all of these things, if they're just willing to go above and beyond, you really see those things. Or Hannah, my GM, freaking amazing. Like she never takes days off. She gave birth and was back in the office with a newborn like a week later.
Oh my
My dad was
gosh.
going through cancer and she like didn't even hesitate of cancer treatments and I was taking him. She didn't even hesitate. Like she was back at the office with a newborn. And so it's like you need when you find people who are extremely loyal, they care, they have the values you're looking for, invest in them because as
Mm.
a technician, she didn't have management skills. And so I invested in her. But you could waste a lot of money investing in somebody who doesn't have the solid foundation you invest on, right? So you want to really make sure, first off, are they loyal? Are they committed to the job? Is this long term? Are they wanting to grow with your company or is this just something they're doing until they find something better? So you really
Yeah.
want to make sure like there's a commitment to your company. But if you find that, invest in it. My GM, like Hannah is I am so blessed to have her. Like just super incredible. And she cares so much. Sometimes she cares so much that I'm like, "Hannah, it's okay. Like we don't hit the mark 100% of the time, but we hit it most. But it's okay if we can't make every single person happy. Like if there is a client, we all know that there are those clients that, we had one the other day that went and reached like behind a couch where I'm like, we're not sending our staff to move a heavy couch. We're just not. Workers' comp is a little too expensive if you play it.
Sure.
No, we're not moving
Yeah.
couches. She did it. She wiped it on her blue jeans and took a picture of her blue jeans. And this lady was just really wild, I'll say. And Hannah, it just really bothered her that she couldn't make her happy. And why? Because she cares. Because she
Mm.
cares about the company so deeply. We had somebody on Facebook a while back leave. Not the greatest. Like some lady went on there and was like, I'm looking for a cleaning company. I tried Lindsay's and didn't like them. And, we don't really ever get that, right? Because 'Cause we've been voted, like,
Yeah.
cleaning company every year. So, like, I was panicking. Hannah was up at, like, 5:30 in the morning, so stressed off of it.
Oh my gosh.
Because she cares, right? And,
Yeah.
like, finding somebody who truly cares in that way and investing in them is a game changer.
So true. Yeah, care about those that care like deeply about your customers. That's always just like a
It's a
very
whole business in itself.
yeah.
Every aspect about you know, understanding hitting our revenue goals, understanding our KPIs, but keeping clients happy, but while keeping employees happy. It's just like it's a
Yeah.
hard engine, right? All the pieces have to run proper for it to work right. And just truly
Yeah.
caring about all of that is it's a blessing because that's not easy to find. It's not.
Yeah. 100%. All right. So another follow up I had from just what we've talked about, you mentioned um, that moment where you realize, like, I need to step back in, like, things aren't great. I need help. And I want to know for those business owners that maybe aren't there yet, where they're fully working outside the business and not a lot in, but maybe they're on their way there, or maybe that's their dream one day.
Right.
What things do you still need to be looking at? Like, you talk a lot about your KPIs. I'm guessing you guys have scorecards that you look at internally. Like, what are things on your scorecards that you can look at, maybe weekly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, things like that, that do keep you in tune enough where you could get triggered, all right, something's off. Something maybe in culture, maybe it's something else, but like, what are the things you are looking for from afar-ish that you can still keep a good like touch on what's going on inside?
Yeah, absolutely. So numbers never lie, right? So you got to understand your numbers. If you're, do not step out of your business and not check your numbers on a daily basis. Like I'm sometimes on vacation and I'm like in my QuickBooks just because, I'm like nosy. Let's see what that looks is looking like. But check your numbers and where I'm always see, like it's a red flag is client retention and employee retention. So those two things right there. When we start losing a lot of employees, culture, training. They're not being trained properly. They truly don't understand the job because if they're not being trained properly and you send them out and they don't understand how to do their job, they get frustrated. Or you send them into a house that should take 5 hours and they're like 8 hours. And it's because they're not trained properly. And then they're frustrated. The client's annoyed because they were going to be done at 5 hours and you lose that.
Mm.
So that's a huge one. And then client retention. So when we start losing a lot of clients in a month, that's where we back up. It's either our training, and that all it backs up to culture too.
Yeah.
Is our do our staff care? Are they out there doing a good job? Because it's not just about the cleaning. I would actually say that our employees connecting with our clients is more important than the cleaning. We've had cleaners that we have like our cleaners that are just 5-star, never miss nothing, everything's shining. And then we have like 3.5 stars. The house is pretty clean. Every once in a while, there's a baseboard miss. But you know what? Their personality is a 5-star, and they love Miss Jones. And Miss Jones can't wait till Sarah gets to her house every week because that's like her best friend. And they catch up on all the news that's been happening in the client's life for the week and all of that. Then the client's not really that. If they look around a room and they're like, oh, they missed a baseboard, not that big of a deal, right? So we actually see that our staff who connect with the clients and have the best personality and really care about their jobs get way better scorecards than the ones who might be a little
Yeah.
socially awkward but kick ass at cleaning.
What's that quote? People will never remember. what you did for them, but how you made them feel. Like that's so true, right? In the home service world.
Yes.
Yeah, very true in the home service world. It's everybody needs those personality hires, I think is what we call them, right? Where they
Oh,
just
yeah, yeah.
get people, they know people, like they can make anybody smile, make anybody laugh. Now they're gonna do their job too, but like when you have that element of personal connection on top of the work that you're doing,
Yes.
it's an unbeatable connection, unbeatable combination.
100%. And that's exactly what we look for. Because first off, it's a little unique business, right? Because you're walking up to somebody's home that you don't know. A lot of times,
Yeah.
well, the first time you're knocking at their door, you're coming in their home, you're touching all their stuff, you're in their personal space. And if somebody doesn't have the right personality type, that's going to be really awkward and really uncomfortable, and they're going to come off very awkward.
Yeah.
And when people come off as awkward, it comes off as rude. And are they trying to be rude? Probably not. But are they, it's just an uncomfortable situation. So when you find the right personality type that I love talkers. You got to know how to
Yeah.
clean and talk too. But clients love that, especially like our retired clients. Yeah, when I was cleaning, I knew all the business. I'd go in and I knew Miss Jones just got a divorce, but she's dating this guy and she, talking about her dates for the week. And people love that. They love connecting with the people in their lives. And so that's huge. That is another huge part of company culture.
Yeah.
So all those things you look for when you're losing employees quick, there's a major problem and you need to start at the top, right? It starts with culture, with training, with all of that, with your management, and when you're losing clients. So those are the two biggest red flags. When we're not losing any clients and we're keeping our staff and our numbers are good, everything's flowing really great. It's when those two red flags kind of,
Yeah.
we're like, oh, let's reel it in. And it's a business. And everybody know business is we're all of our staff are human beings, right? And we have good days and we have bad days, and we're human beings are emotional, and we're not naturally perfect. And so any business is a little bit of a roller coaster, right? And so we already know that. Sometimes we go like months without having to reel anything back in. And then we're like, oh shit, we lost 5 clients this month. Okay, let's reel it back in. Same kind of thing. And so I feel like it's constantly is like the entrepreneur roller coaster, but knowing what to look for and teaching your staff how to reel that back in. Like, I feel like my management staff really understands that. They're like, oh, we're losing clients. All right, quality, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Another thing that we do, and I love this, and I recommend if you have a service industry company and you're not doing this, monthly surveys from your staff. And if they don't fill them out, we bug them until we get that survey. And we want to know what we could be doing better. How could we make your job better? Are you feeling like you're properly trained? How are you feeling about management staff? How are you? All of this, and we make sure they really understand, like, even if you tell us bad things about us, like, we appreciate that feedback. It is not a negative thing. You are helping us. Please tell us how we can improve as an employer. And so we've gotten a lot of feedback where there's certain things that have came in on those surveys that I'm like, damn, I didn't even realize that was a problem. Or we've gotten ones like there was a time where people felt like some of the staff were getting clicky, or there could have been
Mm.
favoritism going on, or they were, feeling overworked. And you look at that, and usually we're understaffed at that time. And why? Because we just went through a little curve where we lost several staff. And so, you just kind of getting that feedback from people is so huge. You should be getting feedback from your staff every month on how you can improve and what things you're doing great and what things you're not hitting the mark on.
100%. Yeah. All right. Next question I have, which gets a little deep. Not gonna lie.
Go for
If we asked your if we asked your frontline team what the company culture at your company is, what do you hope they'd say, and what do you think they'd actually say?
I don't know how they would describe it, but I definitely think they would say that we love on our staff, that we truly care and we're fun. People always say that. Like, that we're fun because we are fun and we are goofy. Like sometimes at team meetings, if you're new to the company, like a new hire, they're almost taken back by just how like I'll walk in, I'm like, "What's up? How are you?" And
Yep.
they're like, you know,
Who is this? Yeah.
yeah, no, we are like super bubbly from the time we answer the phone, interviews, all of it. So I would say they say fun, loving, caring, and like hardworking. We truly care. Like we love our staff, but we also love our clients. And we're known for being the most detailed cleaning company. Like we're one best of the best out there. We take that very seriously, man. We are very competitive. Okay. When voting comes around, you think we're running for presidency. We don't we do not play. And so, we truly care to be the best cleaning company. And so I think our staff really understands that. So I haven't heard much bad feedback about our culture,
Love it.
which is such a
Love that.
blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. In those monthly surveys too. That's huge. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. It's
All right.
always little things, but it's never really the culture.
Yeah. And I mean, even I think that even is a great sign of a company culture when you ask to fill out this survey and they actually give you real feedback of things they wish would change.
Oh,
Because that means they're comfortable, they feel safe to give that feedback. And that alone is a giant hurdle for someone to get over. Is like somebody I talk a lot about, I mean, internally and externally and just content and things like that. Like past workplace trauma is very real for employees to where if they were at a job before they worked where they work now, they bring over things that they like unintentionally or intentionally learned at their last jobs. They bring it into their new jobs. And sometimes as an owner, it's hard to find those things out and how to fix those things. And easily one of those things can be there was no room for feedback. And if there was, you were gone, right? Like the company had no interest in learning what you didn't like about your job or didn't like about the company. They just wanted you to say great things. So it's a hard thing for an employee to be at a spot where not only like is it encouraged, it's weird if you're not telling us these things because we have like an attitude of better and we want to be always be getting better. But also that doesn't mean we also don't have like this giant ego that think we're the best thing ever, right? We know we can always be improving. So, but that is a huge thing. If your employees feel comfortable and safe enough to be giving you that real feedback, you don't realize how lucky you are or like the work that you've put in to make that type of
I
culture.
agree. And the newer staff, we usually have to give them a phone call like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we want this feedback. It's, please tell us you're not going to." And so they usually take like a phone call and really talk and I'm like, "No, give us this feedback." So
Yeah.
person who's like new and just gets a survey, it doesn't come naturally to give that feedback. But we do just encourage it. That's so important because you're right. Other workplaces, they don't. That doesn't come as a norm. They're like,
Yeah.
"You wanna know that? Like, are you gonna get offended or am I gonna get in trouble? Is my
Yeah.
manager not gonna like me?" No, we're gonna think you're awesome because we didn't realize that we sucked at that. Now we know we get to fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
So we actually do internally fully anonymous surveys.
Oh,
So our executive assistant is the only one that knows the actual people that are responding. And then all the results come in and out. So that just like adds a layer of like, there is no pressure to like feel that we're going to have it out for you or something like that.
we should add, like, I think we're gonna do that. Add a second one or even something that
Yeah.
when just randomly could fill out if there's ever anything you wanna tell us and you don't wanna know us to know who, fill out this job form. And
Yeah.
yeah, send it in. That's no, I love that because they should, that should be an option.
Gotcha. All right. Well, hey, we're coming close on time. So I want to respect your time today. But like, I want you to finish this sentence. Company culture dies when dot 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 fill in the blank.
Company culture dies when leadership dies. Yeah, it's all
Huge.
based on leadership. Yep.
I love that. Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much
Last few
for
questions.
having me.
Well, hold on. I'm not done. I got a few more questions. A few
Yeah.
more questions. All right. What do you want your culture to be remembered for 10 years from now?
For making for making our employees' lives better. I want them to remember their time at Lindsay's Cleaning Services was the best experience. from how they were treated to how we improved their life to how they learned great life skills that they can carry on forever.
Love that. And we always finish the show with a fun like would you rather style question. And like they're always around the topic that we're talking about. So your would you rather question is would you rather fire quickly and risk being wrong or wait too long and risk cultural damage?
Fire quickly and risk being wrong. If you leave, it's just like cancer. If you don't get the cancer out of your body, it is going to spread, and it is the same in your company culture. If you have somebody toxic in there, it's unbelievable how quick toxicity will spread throughout your culture.
Yeah.
Definitely fire quick.
Somebody told me a long time ago, if you ever really have a genuine thought about firing someone, that is a really hard thought to get out of your head.
100%.
It's hard to go back
Like,
from it.
ever had anyone that I'm like, I think I need to fire them, turn out to be,
And it goes the other way.
yeah,
Yeah.
never. Because once you're like, I think I need to fire them, there's a reason why. So, no, definitely fire
100%.
quick.
Awesome. Hey, well, thank you for being here today. Thank you for being on the show. Truly appreciate it. How do people get a hold of you? How do people learn more about these crazy adventures that you're always on?
Yeah, so follow me I'm on all social media platforms. My biggest one right now I'm building is my Instagram, and you can follow me at Linnsey Dolson. And Lindsay is spelled Linnseydolson. It's that unique
Love it.
spelling that throws people off.
I love it. Lindsay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here today. Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Five Door Media podcast. Hopefully, you're able to grab some nuggets to take back to your team and your company culture to help improving this thing called company culture that will help your company go to the next level. So, thanks for watching this episode. We'll see you next time.